I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakat Kodash. Double honors to our apostle elders, which ruled Great Millstone well and which taught us the truth. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba. So I pulled up retreat is a sign of weakness in battle, which you just saw Nero 47 pretty much threatened Iran with annihilation, and at the deadline, he changed his story. All right, so retreat is a strategy of battle. All right, King David had a retreat at certain times. Example, when he was running from Saul or his own son. Yahweh Shai had a retreat at certain times when he was on the earth in the flesh as the Messiah. All right. So retreating is a tactic in battle, all right, which some may look at as weakness, but there is a time where it is weakness, okay? So it says retreat can look like weakness on the surface, but that's only one interpretation. The fuller truth is more complicated and honestly more interesting. The concise takeaway: retreat isn't inherently a sign of weakness, it's often a strategic decision that preserves strength, protects forces, and sets up a better position for future action. So that's why you would retreat in a battle using strategy. All right. It says why retreat can be a sign of strength, preserving forces for a decisive moment. History is full of commanders who pulled back not because they were beaten, but because they refused to waste troops in a losing position. That's discipline, not weakness. Trading space for time, sometimes the smartest move is to regroup, resupply, or wait for reinforcements. A commander who refuses to retreat when necessary usually ends up losing far more. Avoiding a trap. Retreat can be the only way to avoid encirclement or annihilation. Recognizing danger early is a mark of competence. Setting up a counterattack. Some of the most famous victories in history were won by armies that retreated first, then struck when the enemy overextended. All right. Now it goes in more on why people perceive it as a weakness. All right. It says cultural bias, visibility, and ego. All right. But now, when retreat is a sign of weakness, it says, to be fair, retreat can signal poor planning, low morale, lack of discipline, overwhelming enemy superiority. And this is what we're seeing with America against Iran. Poor planning, low morale, lack of discipline, overwhelming enemy superiority. You heard Nero himself, all right, Nero 47, say that he did not expect what Iran did in attacking all the occupied military bases that they have over there in these other countries, like Iraq. All right, they attacked those military bases, right? And Nero was on national TV saying that he did not expect that. Nobody did. So they have poor planning. The military is having division, right? They're divided, low morale, lack of discipline. Their own commander-in-chief, Pete Hegseth, said that the military was out of shape, mentally and physically, on national TV before the world. It says overwhelming enemy superiority, which what Iran has showed that it is capable of, and it says there's more to come. All right. That's overwhelming for what they did not expect in their poor planning. All right. So Nero 47, all right, his retreat is not a sign of strength, but a sign of weakness. One, he's not in control, so he can't say something and carry it through. All right. He's following orders. All right. And those orders are coming from Yahweh Ba'Hasham Yahushai through the left-hand side through the Illuminati. All right. The elite of the so-called white race, which they, it says they shoot arrows at the innocent, which really they're intending to try to deceive the elect, but they won't be able to. Of the nation of Israel, they're trying to deceive the elect. It says in Psalm 64, it says, Psalm 64:1, to the chief musician, a psalm of King David. Hear my voice, O Elohim, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. All right, so he's praying, praising, and prophesying. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, which they're causing all kinds of chaos on the earth to bring forth a new world order. It says in the NLT, hide me from the plots of this evil mob, from this gang of wrongdoers, right? Which the wicked are in power. That's why the world is in a state of World War III, because the wicked are ruling. It says in Psalm 64, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words like rumors of war, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect, the elect of Israel. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not, which eventually they're going to shoot nuclear missiles on America. The Babylon the Great in biblical prophecy, that's to be destroyed by fire, this great whore, which is going to be turned into a nuclear lake of fire. All right. The elite of the so-called white race, they're pretty much trying to move America into position for nuclear destruction. And it's by the will of Yahweh Ba'Hasham Yahushai, and they're going to try to destroy the elect that are here prophesying. They're going to try to stop us from praising Yahweh Ba'Hasham Yahushai, and Yahweh is going to send his son Yahushai, the captain of the host of heaven. And him and the host of heaven is going to fight for us. It says in verse 4, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. Let's see what that says in the NLT. It says, they shoot from ambush at the innocent. The innocent is the elect of Israel, attacking suddenly and fiercely, which they're going to persecute us. But at the end, after they make the implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling worldwide, which will be the condemnation to the 2/3 in America of the nation of Israel, which are deceived by the so-called white race, they're going to receive an implantable microchip and receive the same judgment as the heathen here in America. 2/3 of the nation of Israel that are here in America are going to be in the lake of fire as a heathen, all right? Like the heathen, all right? Because the heathen don't have no salvation, and that's since the beginning. That's why Lot's wife looked back, because she was of the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, she was a Hamite, and so she looked back to her people being destroyed, and she was destroyed with them. But the bloodline continued through Abraham, and Lot was of the bloodline, and his daughters. That's why they were preserved. Now, the children that he had with his daughters, they were not brought into the kingdom of heaven. It says, because they did not give bread and water to the Israelites when they were coming out of Egypt. All right. So Yahweh Ba'Hasham Yahushai is going to protect the Israelite, starting with the elect. 2/3 of the Israelite in America are going to die because they are deceived. All right. It says in verse 5, they encourage themselves in an evil matter, which they're confederate against the Israelite. When they have these meetings, the Davos meetings, right? Even these rumors of wars, they showed you in Superman, the new Superman, when Lex Luthor was fighting Superman, he said, I create wars to have, the ability to fight you. And that's what the Lord has the left hand doing. They create wars to try to go to war with the Israelites. All right, like the war on terror, where they begin to target dark-skinned people. All right, war on drugs, right? Who are they fighting against? But the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which they're the accuser of the Israelite. The so-called white race is the devil. The Bible speaks of Satan. He has the spirit of adversity in him against the Israelite, because it was said in the scriptures that Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, has given Esau a spirit of enmity against the Israelite. So that's a hatred. That's why you never get along with the so-called Caucasian, all right, because the Lord don't want you to be friends with this devil, even though originally they were our twin brother, all right? It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privately, like the implantable microchip. They've been working on that for generations, right? The nuclear missile development, that was over generations. They say, who shall see them? See, because they claim to be an atheist, and the reason they claim to be atheists is because if they were to say there was a God, all right, they're the devil. They'd have to have an answer for all the wickedness that they're doing. So the only answer they have is to say that they are atheists, which makes them fools, because they have all this technology to see the grand scheme of things or the small, and they still deny the Almighty Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. So he's going to punish them. It says they search out iniquities, which they use the technology to search out iniquities. That's why they got these data centers. They accomplish a diligent search. They search in everything, right? It says both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep in doing wickedness, all right? It says, but our power, which is moving through the elect on earth in the name of Yahushai, shall shoot at them with an arrow, which we're prophesying that he's going to use the hearts of these other kings of these other nations, and he's going to put it in their hearts to shoot missiles on Babylon the Great, which is already happening. That's why you had the UN come out and declare that what they did in America is the worst thing that could have been done to any man, woman, or child, and they're talking about slavery of the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian. It says, but which are the Israelites. All right. It says, suddenly shall they be wounded, which it tells you when they're at their climax, that's pretty much when the Lord's going to wound them. Pride cometh before the fall. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Which I just shared a video from an Edomite show from YouTube. I'm trying to think of the name. Full Spectrum Survival. And the Skeletor host in that show, he was talking about the 90% rejection of America and its threat to use a weapon of mass destruction on Iran. So literally their own tongue is falling upon their head. They're being revealed as the devil, and everybody's fleeing from them. All their allies, look at the NATO nations. They said, we don't want nothing to do with you. They refused them airspace, refused them ability to use the military bases is what they're reporting. It says, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of our power, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, which we're putting it on the earth in the spirit of prophecy, which we've been given knowledge and wisdom on the right-hand side, which is far superior than what Esau has. All right, because we are sons and more than servants. Though we are servants, we're sons. All right. And our Father is showing us what he is doing through Yahweh Shai by the Holy Spirit. He's causing us to remember ourselves. And he showed us the grand plan of all these things. It's to give Israel the kingdom of heaven. But he has to try us in adversity to prove us. And that's why the 2/3 that are found unfaithful are going to die in their unfaithfulness. But we're going to get the earth. All right. It's going to be given to us. Yahweh is going to send his son Yahweh Shai to save us and to take the authority away from the heathens' kings. All right. By shaking the earth. All right. And bringing them into subjection. Every knee shall bow. And then he's going to hand it over to the elect of Israel, starting with King David. It says, for they shall wisely consider of his doing, which really that's the only thing that you could come to a conclusion is that Yahweh is taking the power from Esau and giving it to the Israelites. That's why great fear fell upon them, which saw them stand upon their feet, talking about the prophets of Israel, right? And at the same time, Teman can't understand why every Edomite is supposed to be pretty much according to biblical prophecy and in slaughter. It says, the righteous shall be glad in Yahweh and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. And we glory in who? Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Cross-reference that verse. It says in Psalm 97:11, light is sown for the righteous. This is what we have. The truth is for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart, which when you know the truth shall set you free, which gives you gladness. And it's for the upright in heart, which are the elect of Israel. Psalm 112 verse 2, his seed shall be mighty upon the earth. The generation of the upright shall be blessed, which we're in this generation, and we're going to be blessed because we're going to receive the heathen and they're going to bow before us as servants. It says in 1 Corinthians 1 verse 30, but of him are ye in Yahweh HaMashiach, who of our power Yahweh is made unto us wisdom and righteousness and sanctification and redemption. That's why we're clean through the word. Yahweh Shai is within us, giving us access to our power spiritually by the word. All right. It says in 1 Corinthians 1 verse 31 that according as it is written in the word, the holy scriptures, he that glorieth, let him glory in Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, which he gave us his word. And his word speaks of his son Yahweh Shai saving us from our oppressors and giving our oppressors over to us to be punished. It says in Galatians 6 verse 14, but our power forbid that I should glory save in the cross of our Lord Yahweh HaMashiach, by whom the world is crucified unto me and I unto the world. Let's get that in the NLT. It says, as for me, may I never boast about anything except the cross of our Lord Yahweh HaMashiach. Because of that cross of his sacrifice, which he's resurrected, he's not dead, he lives forevermore. My interest in this world has been crucified, which we don't really care about this world. We're looking into the world to come. All right, where there's going to be righteousness. And the world's interest in me has also died. All right, because we're dead with Yahweh Shai. All right, but we live with Yahweh Shai. And we're moving in his spirit which his spirit is a spirit of prophecy, and the prophecy is that he's going to take the Israelites out of captivity, out of under the heathen, and put them in power, and put the heathen under us, all right? And this is the prophecy. Isaiah 14:1, for Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. So he's talking about the sons of Jacob, which are the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which have been scattered throughout the world. We've been exiled from the Holy Land because of our sin. All right, we moved our power to wrath, but he did not send us into the hands of the heathen to be destroyed. All right, he's not ever going to allow us to be completely destroyed. And set them in their own land, because the promise is what? He will choose Israel and set them back in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, which are Israelites that have been scattered all over the world. They might even look like the other nations, but through the internet, they're hearing the prophets and they're repenting. And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. They examine themselves whether they be in the faith of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, the other nations, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So we're in the time of receiving the earth and receiving the heathen as ours. All right, and it's all being made possible by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And it shall come to pass in the day that Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage in America, wherein thou was made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, which America in prophecy is known as Babylon the Great. So its leader is the king of Babylon, Nero 47. And he's doing exactly what Nebuchadnezzar did in the ancient time. Read the book of Judith. And say, how had the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? Which that word cease is Shabbat. Or let me pull it up. Ceased. Shabbat. All right, Sabbath. But look, it says to cease, decease, from labor, to cease, to cause to cease, put an end to exterminate, destroy, to remove, to cause to fail. So that's what they did with Iran. They're failing because soon they're going to be, Esau is going to be completely exterminated, destroyed. All right. And this is why the devil is coming down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. That's why he's talking about exterminating a whole race of people, because really that's on their mind, but against the Israelite, not against the Iranian. All right. It says exterminate means to completely destroy, eliminate, or kill off a group of people. See, and that's what Esau has in his mind for the Israelite, but it's them that are going to be destroyed. All right. That's 2 Ezra 15. It says in verse, and really that's why the prophets are here. Verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. Verse 5, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world. The sword, which this is why you have ice cubes and iced teas in the streets oppressing the people, in the airports also. Famine, death, and destruction is what they're going to cause, which they are causing right now. It says, in verse 9, it says, and therefore, saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them, talking about his people, starting with his elect. He's going to avenge them. This is why Babylon the Great is going to become a lake of nuclear fire. and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them, the elect of Israel. 2/3 are going to die with the heathen. 1/3 is going to be saved and repenting to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. It says in verse 10, behold, my people, the Israelite, is led as a flock to the slaughter. Which these these wars are a depopulation mechanism. It says, I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. America is Egypt. Look at the back of the dollar. Look at the Capitol monuments. And your president is inaugurated, which that comes from Egypt. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt with plagues as before. Seeing it's talking about this modern day Egypt, America, the great whore, and will destroy all the land thereof, which ancient Egypt still exists. This is talking about this modern spiritual Egypt, America, where it had all the 12 tribes of Israel in slavery. All right. And they right now you have them in slavery subject to payment. Right. Even these so-called illegal immigrants, you arrest them and put extreme fines upon them so that they can't make moves, you see, to try to come out of that captivity. All right. So we are at the end of the so-called white race and the reign of terror that they have ruled with on the earth. All right. It's their end. And that's why they're acting so strange. All right. Because they're really losing courage and becoming weak, which we just saw their weakness. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, which it's going to be a nuclear war, which America loses. World War III is going to end in nuclear war, and America is going to lose that war. For the sword and their destruction draw nigh. The sword is the so-called white race that oppresses the world, and their kingdom is America. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands, which you're going to have world war and war in the streets of America. For there shall be sedition among men, which is already happening. They're against their leaders and invading one and another. They just had a councilman's house, blasted with a stick, and they left a note about no data centers, is what they're saying on the door. I believe they said they blasted through his windows and his houses with as they say, to bear arms. And then when they got done blasting his house, they actually put a sign of no more data centers. So the people are already in a state of sedition, all right, and they're not really caring for their princes, for their kings, or for their governors. This is why America is going to go into martial law. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one and another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. See, in Indianapolis, councilman says shots fired at home. Indianapolis councilman says shots fired at home. All right. And they said there was a note of saying no data center. Shots fired at Indianapolis councilman's home. And they say this note, it says no data center. See, no data centers is what they're saying. And it was taped to the door. See, are thrown there. There you go. See, I thought that was taped, but it's a Ziploc. All right. So that's just showing you that we have a sure word of prophecy. All right. So we're going to definitely get the heathen as slaves. All right. And we're in that time. And that's why they're coming down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. All right, so it says in verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Martial law, that's why they're locking down the airports. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. There's not going to be no jobs. There ain't going to be no ability to prosper. All right, and America is going to go into a war zone. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right, the Lord's going to bring great tribulation upon the world, but the most concentrated tribulation is going to be for America and the Holy Land, where the counterfeits, the Edomites, which are the counterfeits, are at. All right, America is their kingdom, which is the whore that rides the beast. The beast is the European Union. They have NATO, which is the teeth of the beast, all right, which they're going to betray, which they're already doing. We have a sure word of prophecy, and you would do well if you took heed. They're going to betray the great whore and eat her flesh with fire. Nuclear missiles is what they're going to rain down upon her. All right, but before that happens, when they make an implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling worldwide, that's going to cause great tribulation because they're trying to cause chaos to bring forth their new world order. But the order that is going to remain is these scriptures, these words, which Yahushua is the word made flesh. So he's going to manifest from heaven and to take the earth from the possession of the heathen and give it to the Israelites so that there'll be peace forevermore on this earth, which is really supposed to be a paradise. Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abba babal.